Welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be discussing why fat matters, especially for us menopausal women. I'm going to go over dietary fats and why they are important for us. I'm going to talk about our body's fuel system, energy utilization, time and energy, and how we can take advantage of both of those things to help us lose weight and utilize body fat more efficiently. We're going to talk about the hormone connection and why intermittent fasting is so amazing for us as aging women today. So, welcome. If you haven't done so yet, please take a second to hit that subscribe button and then also make sure that you have hit that little bell notification. That way, when I upload new content, you will be notified. So if you're new, my name is Ann Parham. I am the creator of the online course, Intermittent Fasting for Today's Aging Woman, as well as the Midlife Mindset Shift course. Here in this community, we talk all things for today's aging woman. Primarily, we talk about intermittent fasting and creating a healthy mindset approach to taking care of ourselves as we go through this aging season. So welcome. Let's get started. Okay, so let's get right into it. Why fat matters. So, when we're talking about dietary fat, or one of the three macronutrients being carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, fat being one of those dietary macronutrients, what we want to start to understand, or maybe even just accept as women, is that fats are in the form of our dietary fats are really beneficial to us in the fact that they are building blocks for our hormones. They are super efficient energy sources and protective mechanisms for our brain. They protect our cells, help us absorb nutrients like the fat soluble vitamins in A, D, E, and K. If you are a woman who's in maybe their mid to late 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, or 80s, then you are probably very fat phobic when it comes to your nutrition, because a lot of us grew up in the dietary season of nutritional education, and we were told that fat makes us fat. And what I want us to think about is, if the fact that if that was really true and fat made us fat, and all of us grew up avoiding or fearing the consumption of dietary fats, then we would have been able to put the diet industry out of business because it would have worked for us. What we know is that it didn't really work so well, and we were constantly in a diet type of modality with how it was that we decided what we were going to do with our nutrition and even what we were going to do with our fitness, because we believed that it was a calorie problem when we were putting on weight or our body was hoarding fat, and we weren't taught that it's actually a hormonal problem. And we'll get to that in just a second. So we definitely need dietary fats. But what I want us to think about is the fact that fat quality is a very serious consideration that we must wrap our heads around when we're choosing our dietary fats. So we want to make sure that the fats that we are consuming are in their most natural form, and we're staying away from some of the processed fats, or all of them if we can. And we're really focusing on like plant-based types of fats, or fats that are coming from meats, lots of heavier marbleized red meat, those kind of things. If you're a animal protein consumer, and if you're more on the plant-based sides, there's plenty of fat that we can get from that source as well. We can get that from cacao butter, we can get that from lots of vegetables, we can get that from hemp hearts, we can get that from using really high quality oils. So there's lots of resources for us to up our dietary fats. It is one of the macronutrients that our body system needs, and these are some of the primary reasons why we need to get those healthy fats in. So, okay, how does our body get the energy that it needs to carry us through our day and participate in all of the activities that we have going on throughout our day? Well, we know that we have fuel energy systems already built in. We have fuel that comes from carbohydrate sources, which are stored in our body in the form of glucose, or gets transferred into glucose and then stored away as glycogen. That is our primary fuel that our body utilizes for energy. We also have a secondary fuel source, and that is our fat. So when we consume food, our body decides how it's going to process the nutrients that we take in. We use primarily carbohydrate forms of that fuel as our primary source of energy or fuel and support for our body. And then fat is our secondary source of fuel. If both are present, then what we need to start understanding is that carbohydrates in the form of glucose and stored away in our body as glycogen will always be used first. So if you are a person who has been really good at storing away food energy or your body's energy fuel, then you are going to have plenty of carbohydrates available in the form of glucose and stored away as glycogen. And you will probably never get to the point of tapping into this secondary fuel source if you are living a very carbohydrate heavy lifestyle. So we have to create the opportunity for our body to switch over from its primary fuel or readily available fuel source into our secondary fuel source. The good news is you can, in fact, train your body to switch into this mode very easy and very conveniently through some time and consistency with what I'm about to teach you. So the way our body utilizes this like fuel source or energy from what it is we're taking in and ultimately what our body puts in storage is in this order, so to speak. So when we consume food nutrients as an energy source, or we consume anything that's going to be considered an energy source and either put away as storage or utilized and pulled out as an energy utilization opportunity for our body, it usually comes from the last meal first. Then your body will pull from what's stored as energy. So the carbohydrates and glucose we just talked about, which is generally stored in our liver and our muscles, and it's also stored within cells within our body. And then we're going to go into that fat source. So here's why it's really important, especially for menopausal women who are so frustrated with their inability to lose weight and inability to tap into that fat storage as a source of energy, is you're not understanding this process here and what is made up of what it is you're consuming in your meals every day. So the macronutrient makeup, if it's very carbohydrate heavy, and oftentimes, even if it's very protein heavy, your body will probably not utilize this all the way through what it is you consumed. You will have extra that goes into storage, and you'll always have this readily available to utilize before you can tap into the fat storage. So this is where we have to really start thinking about what our macronutrient makeup is. And what I want to say here is a little asterisk is you don't have to become very hyper focused on calculating or managing macros. You just have to understand what nutrition works best for you and then really adapt a lifestyle where you can rinse and repeat those things so we don't go back into that diet type of mentality where we're super hyper focused on getting everything perfect. I can tell you, I don't live a perfect nutrition lifestyle. I just understand the energy utilization and energy storage process. So your body will utilize and store this first. Then it will tap in if there's not enough here and everything got utilized, there's nothing left for storage. It will tap into the reserves that it has here. When this becomes scarce, then it will tap into fat. The problem most women have is they never get to this third step of energy utilization and everything stays in storage. So let's talk about how we can use time and energy on our side and really tap into those as tools that we can start to understand and utilize to help us achieve what it is that we say that we really want with our body, especially when we're in menopause, and that's to utilize body fat and lose some of this weight. So time is one of the conditions your body can be in where it will tap into what's in storage. So if you have been practicing intermittent fasting, you put your body into a situation or position where you have eliminated the opportunity for new food or that new energy to come into your system, which in turn creates an insulin response. And the insulin is really the storage hormone of fat and that food that we're taking in. So time or putting your body into a fasted state just eliminates that opportunity for your body to take in a last meal and store it away for energy if it doesn't get utilized. So fasting is one of the easiest ways that you can start to tap into fat utilization and use it as an energy source. We also know that the length of time that we are fasting matters, especially for us women who are in menopause. Again, because most of the issues that we are having with menopause is an insulin and hormone issue, and it has really nothing to do with caloric intake or the fact that we've done anything wrong. It's just a matter of time of backup and buildup and not utilizing what we already have in storage. We have some hormonal changes in our body, and then we become really, really good at storing, and we have to flip that switch into utilization. So fasting and the length of time you fast really does matter. If you're a regular here in our community, you know I highly recommend a 20-hour fast just because it gives you that length of time to really tap into what's in storage. And then we also know that a lot of us are suffering from conditions like insulin resistance and pre-diabetic states. Some of us are actually in full-blown diabetic states. And so really putting a block on that insulin response in a fasted state will also help us reverse those conditions as well. And then we also want to tap into energy. So this is what fasting does as well, is it utilize what's in storage to keep your body energized, so you'll never run out of storage. Your body will always have enough, especially if you're intermittent fasting. And then we also want to tap into exercise, which is utilizing that stored energy as well. So a fasting opportunity gives your body an opportunity to utilize what's in storage and withdraw from what I call the food banks. And exercise will give you the same benefit because you're requiring a higher energy demand on your body, and your body will release what it has in storage to support what it is that you're doing in exercise. So time and energy are definitely on our side. The time we spend in a fasted state and what we can utilize through the extra energy demand in exercise. So let's talk about the hormone connection that we all have in menopause and how hormones are, in fact, the direct link to what it is we are either going to be happy about or maybe frustrated with in regards to our body becoming this big storage tank for weight and ultimately the fat that we have on our body. So women in menopause obviously have lower levels of estrogen. Estrogen levels dropping increases insulin resistance just naturally because your hormones are constantly doing this. They're ebbing and flowing, and they're trying to help one another out. So as estrogen naturally drops, we also have now a problem with insulin because these two balance each other out. Decrease in estrogen, increase in insulin. This is why so many women are really noticing how insulin resistant they are. This actually happens over time and end up in pre-diabetic states from the simple fact that we are in menopause. So nothing that you've done wrong. It's just that your hormones are changing and insulin is going to try to make up for what estrogen is no longer doing. What I like to teach is the keto-like approach to our nutrition. If you find yourself in this condition that I just, explained through the last couple of slides, what the keto-like approach is this: higher naturally occurring healthy fats so that you keep that carbohydrate storage at bay. You're going to control how much more you're going to have in storage by way of carbohydrates by simply increasing your fat intake so that you can keep your body energized, give all that dietary fat its opportunity to do its job, and you're going to keep yourself satiated, right? And that's the biggest thing, is we want to stay energized and we just want to stay satiated. I also recommend moderate to low amounts of protein. Again, we don't need to consume as much protein as we once thought that we did. And as we start to age, the requirement or demand for protein intake also starts to lessen. So consider how much protein you're consuming as well. And then I always recommend conscious carbohydrates. So a nice rotation of very colorful and healthy vegetables in your dietary or nutritional makeup, with the opportunity for some starchy carbs as well. But we want to make sure that we're getting as many vegetables in as we can, because those are going to be those nutrients that are super dense in a very low macro makeup, right? So the majority of our macronutrient requirements are going to come from fat, and then we're going to have a moderate amount come from protein, and then we're going to fill in the gap with these vegetables here, simply because you can eat a lot of them and you can feel full, you can feel satiated, you can feel like you're getting a nice quantity and quality, kind of like a variety of foods, but you're going to do it very consciously here with your carbohydrates. So this is where this intermittent fasting for today's aging woman approach really has served so many women so well here in this community. The fasting long gives your body the opportunity to utilize glycogen stores that are already available in your body. So we all walk around with what I call the pantry of fat and those glycogen stores, right? And when you end up becoming a pre-diabetic or a diabetic, these storage tanks are actually overflowing with glycogen. So that's just that much more time we need to spend in this intermittent fasting lifestyle, and really paying attention to what we're doing with our macronutrients, and really utilizing the benefits of what we can do in moving our body to get through this as quickly as possible, and then get ourselves back to that set point where we have eliminated the overflow, and now we're just working on a 24-hour clock. So what we take in gets utilized, minimum storage happens, and then we can go right into that fat burning state. This is the feasting well component of what we teach here in this lifestyle, the keto-like approach. Very healthy, higher amounts of fat in our daily nutritional intake, moderate to low amounts of protein, because protein that you don't need as a building block anymore, just because your lifestyle is different, will also end up going into storage. So we don't have to consume as much as we once thought that we did. And then very conscious carbohydrates. So the carbohydrates that you're taking in, I want you to start thinking about how those will be effectively either utilized or stored in your body, and start to visualize what's happening when you're making those carbohydrate choices. And is this going to get me to the place that I say that I really want if I'm going to make this carbohydrate choice? So you don't have to be a low carb type of person, and you don't have to be the person that cuts out all carbohydrates. I just want you to think about the process and the order of operations of how your body utilizes what it is we're doing in our decision-making process with nutrition. Consuming and or utilizing or storing the last meal that we just ate, then tapping into whatever has gone into storage from either previous feasting incidences or what was left over from that last meal. And then that third energy event or utilization event is going to be the fat that your body is accumulating. How quickly you're going to get to that fat is going to be determined by how keto-like your approach is going to be. Do not think that this means the ketogenic diet. It just means keto in the aspect of you're going to consume more fats so that you can utilize fats more efficiently. And then training smarts. This is the opportunity that I like to use for draining the tanks. So if I am in an exercise session, and this is where I always highly recommend that women monitor their heart rate as well, so that you know that you're working out in an efficient fat utilization mode. Higher duration workouts with lower intensity effort will get you the time in an exercise bout that will help you drain the tanks so much faster, so that you will get into the fat utilization stage of our energy process with our bodies. So we need the fat to support what it is we want our body to do in a healthy way. Fat has a very specific role that it plays in how it keeps our body alive and healthy. So we don't want to fear fat. You just want to make sure you're getting fat that's going to be of highest quality so that it can do its job the best. We want to make sure that we are eating enough protein to support what it is that we want to do in our everyday life, but anything that you're doing over what your body needs will in fact go into storage. And then be very, very honest with yourself about your carbohydrate intake. You don't have to be low carb, but you have to be very conscious about the choices that you are making, understanding that the carbohydrates are going to be the readily available energy. Anything that your body doesn't use from that last meal will go in storage. How long it stays in storage is going to be determined by this process here. Are you going to create an opportunity where you can fast and let your body have some time without a new insulin response? Are you going to feast well in your next meal to support what it is you want to get from this fasting window? And are you going to put yourself in an opportunity where you can tap into a draining of the tanks by just requiring more energy expenditure through an exercise bout? This is how I lost 8 pounds in about a week and a half and dropped my body fat percentage by about 2% by following what I just shared with you here. Higher fats, moderate to low amounts of protein, and very conscious carbohydrates. When I did an experiment and switched up how it was I was consuming my nutrition, I went heavier on the carbohydrates, heavier on the protein, and heavier on the fat. I gained 8 pounds in about a week and a half just because I created an opportunity for my body to be really efficient at storing away the nutrition that I was consuming, and I didn't give it enough of an opportunity to utilize it and get it off my body. So the macronutrients, or the way it is you're choosing to fuel your body and what it is you're going to fuel your body with, will help you either become very efficient and very effective at utilizing fat off your own body as an energy source, or it's going to store it away. Opportunity is ours to utilize that fat, and I hope that you will take that opportunity to heart. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. I do not teach a specific diet. I do not teach that anyone has to eat a certain way. It really is going to be dependent on you, what makes you happy, and what it is you are going to be willing to stick with long enough to yield the results, and then stick with it so that you can keep those results. I'm always here to help you guys. Please make sure you reach out if you have any questions. This is how you can either store fat or utilize fat. It's a very simple process, but you have to understand how your body works. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. We have new intermittent fasting for today's Aging Woman courses starting the first Saturday of every month. So please make sure you click the links in the description box so that you can get on my email list and you'll be notified when our next course starts. I teach all of this in detail inside the Intermittent Fasting for Today's Aging Woman course, and I support you on your journey so that you can, in fact, become a fat utilizer by the end of class.